evaluating everything together, it was our view that going in together would be very helpful.
What's the Philippine story to foreign investors today, and what's the BPI story to foreign investors today, especially this being an election year? Do you see yourself as being an attractive investable asset?
Yes, well, for the Philippines, as I said, the growth rate last year was only 1%. We will go back to our traditional, shall we say, 4 to 5%, depending on what happens. Inflation will probably also go in that direction. So for the country as a whole, that's positive. Naturally, we would like to get back to the 2007 7%, but I think first things first, okay? On the BPI story, we just launched our sustainability report, no? And as we say, we've been sustainable for the past 158 years. I think in a sense, as we say, it's a quality name. What we do is that we have consistently delivered from a dividend yield point of view, and also over time from a growth point of view with regards to stock price.
But given the fact that there's a lot of churn in the market at the moment, and some of the smaller players are being acquired, and you yourself are sort of repositioning your ownership structures and so on, wouldn't the sustainability report be viewed as a defensive play rather than an offensive play, which some of your other competitors are benefiting from?
Well, time will tell. I think if you check the market surveys, I think we are influenced by the fact that there's a major competitor with a very aggressive growth story. But I think we have to quote-unquote paddle our own canoe. And in many ways, if you peel the onion and you check what's underneath, aside from the growth numbers, again, everything except the loans has been quite good. And the second part, it's the fundamentals of the franchise, the people behind,
Do you see BPI as potentially successful if it was owned by a larger franchise, maybe a global player, for example?
No. I think BPI is uniquely Filipino. As I said, there's a lot of room to increase our share in even the domestic market, make financing more accessible to a larger number of people. I think we're good on the technology side, and so that's what we're bringing also to the people.
And so what would the reasons be for a international player to be linked to BPI and to perhaps to plug in an ownership structure to play the Philippines growth story?
Are you're thinking of as a major investor, or?
Well, it depends on what the ownership laws are in the Philippines. So
well, broadly speaking, we've always had a major player with us. In the past, it was JP Morgan. Today, it's DBS. Okay, and that seems to work quite well for us. Maybe if you're talking about it on a broader basis, there's an ASEAN role, and that's something that we would be.
So, what does DBS get from being owner of 15% owner of BPI, and what value do they provide to BPI as a result?
Well, we like to think that we're one of their better performing investments. It is a big market. They've come in, I think it's 10 years since they've come in. In a sense, it's their way of planting a stake in a country which is fairly well populated, and where the banking scene is getting more progressive. I mean, I'm talking about capital markets and all of the technological innovations, plus the fact that we're going down market. So I think that's a huge potential for anyone who's associated with us.
Is there a need or a desire to have other similar investors in place to help you grow, the various franchises that you're trying to build?
Well, that's more a shareholder issue. I think when you look at our parent, it's the Ayala Corporation, and fairly well established here, and also with its own view of how things should be in the Philippines. So between the Ayala and the DBS, it's a fairly solid ownership partnership.
Does being part owned by DBS, does that bring a lot of benefit to your bank, like in terms of technology or know-how?
Well, we've got very good relationships with them. They've brought in a lot of insights on the risk management side, and that has considerably helped us. We exchange views on a number of items. They provide good governance. In many ways, the only difference is that the Singapore economy pretty much operates independently of the Philippine economy. So there's not that much of linkages there from a client point of view, etc.
As the chairman of the Banking Association of the Philippines, what is your sense of how 2010 is going to play out?
I think the major achievement of the Philippine banking system and the Bankers Association over the past years has been to keep the banking system healthy, well capitalized, well regulated, strong profits, lower NPLs, no? And helpful. The increase in the amount of facilities offered to what we call the small and medium, the middle market, the capital markets opening up, kept the money safe on the depositor side. So I think these are all positive steps which will continue. Now everybody's feeling better. And I think it's a natural aid to the economy.
The banking industries in many different countries coming out of the economic crisis have benefited considerably from low-cost deposits
Yes.
and very good margins. How's that playing out in the Philippines, and do you see that margins might be compressed in 2010?
Well, I think that's always the big worry at the start of the year. But again, on a total basis, interest rates dropped by 200 basis points last year. Much of the prognosis this year is that they're going to go up by maybe about 100 basis points. So in many ways, it's going to be not far away from the conditions at the beginning of 2009. And I think put it the other way around, I think everybody's betting that there will be increased loan volume.
What is the banking industry doing to grow the small business segment, or is the small business segment a real part of the Philippine economy that can show up on the books of the banking industry?
Well, different banks have different strategies, but I think in the final analysis, it is a sector that everybody is. In the past, it was lip service, but now you see many more banks involved. And as I said earlier, the larger names, whether they be multinational or local, now have great access to the capital markets, and therefore people by definition will have to look for other clients as well.
As a purveyor of the industry as a whole, is it in your interest to see greater consolidation in the Philippines banking sector?
Well, I think those things will naturally happen. I think
But would you like to see it happen? Do you think it's necessary to happen?
Well, we can play in either field. Okay, right now you have three major banks, and then some medium-sized banks who may either get bigger or smaller as time goes by. You know, I think in general we're just watching the situation. I think you have it's quite healthy actually.
In the remittance business, in the fund management business, you are a large player. You
Yes.
have a market share to protect.
Yes.
What do you need to do to protect that market share? Or what do you need not to do to ensure that it's not eroded?
Well, in both cases, we're going after the second or the third product where we're succeeding at. As I mentioned, we have the remittances, we have the deposits. Now we want to promote the investments. And then on the asset management side, I think we have still fairly low percentage penetration of who we consider to be our preferred names. So just by doubling that, we only get to like half of everyone. So we've got lots of room to go.
Gigi Montinola, thank you very much for spending time with us. It's very interesting to hear how a blue chip institution like BPI has kept its messages over the years, and how that message is what you're obviously repeating even in the new era. Thank you very much.